I definitely have to first say that like it was music in the 80s, late 80s and 90s was truly reflective of a movement, and it was the movement of empowerment, black empowerment, black love, consciousness, just being aware. It was all the above, and obviously things go through. It goes through evolution and changes. I don't think right now as a whole we have that in hip hop. I don't think like it's like at that time the majority of the hip hop was it was a pro-black movement. We had PE, we had Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubian, Big Daddy Kane would do his pro-black song. It was like Mo D, like NWA had stuff that was, saying something too. So I don't feel like we have that as a whole in hip hop. I don't think hip hop is the place we go to listen for that voice of like, okay, this is the revolution. This is how we changing things. But there are artists that do it. And I also think, the Chance, though he may not speak in like, okay, this is black consciousness. He has a consciousness about him, a self-awareness and a spirituality. And I think I don't want to overlook that because spirituality was something that was powerful very much in hip hop. Like
absolutely.
Islam, whether it was Islamic or
5%ers or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, the 5%ers. But so I'm saying in hip hop, we don't have it as much, but it still exists. And I still can go to some hip hop, but now, I go to great speakers like Brian Stevenson.
Why don't you talk a bit, because he was a big, good friend of yours and a big collaborator, and he's still, for the people who know Jay Dilla know, but there's a vast unwashed hip-hop fans who don't know what he contributed. Could you talk about Jay Dilla a minute?
Yeah, Jay Dilla he's a center point of the black pool of genius. He's like someone who grew up in Detroit, grew up in the hood. Shout out to the D. Yeah, from right there on McNick's, wherever that is, McNick, East Side. That he grew up around there, but he had this dichotomy where like he had a hood about him, but he knew all the music, the jazz. I met him at Q-Tip's house back in '95. This dude was digging for records because he did beats. Some of his first music that got out to the industry was on Tribe Called Quest Beats, Rhymes, and Life album. And then from there, his group Slum Village, he influenced and produced everybody from me, the song I did, The Light, to that whole like Water for Chocolate album, Electric Circus, and on and on. But also from D'Angelo, he's influenced to I've walked in the studios and Pharrell like saw Jay Dilla and was like, we used to call him the God because he influenced so many, and he just was pure with the music. He wasn't gonna do I've never met anybody as pure as he is with the music.
Do you believe that artists, rappers, musicians, when they have something like a Donald Trump or something like a LA riots or some sort of social injustice flashpoint to react to, that it drives up the creativity and the timelessness of art as opposed to when things are going well and the art suffers? Do you believe that?
I do. Nelson, you was about to, you want? Okay.
I was going to say is that every historical epoch where there's conflict, it does help certain artists. Some people can be explicitly political, but for others, it brings them into an internal journey that can also be just as powerful. So I think I put it, one of the best periods of hip hop was the crack era, which was a terrible time in this country and under Reagan and all that stuff, and some great art came out of that. I don't necessarily think we needed to have the terrible stuff to happen, but often artists respond with some of their best work because it touches their friends and their community in a way that's inspiring. And anger, as much as love, inspires art.
Yeah, and I also believe that like artists, when we have something that we're passionate about, we speak up. It's a truth that comes out at that time. But you have to be passionate about it. The reason, I think this era we're in now can be just as tough as the Reagan era in many instances, but the artist is speaking up they feel it. They feel it, and they feel it in their spirits. And I think one thing that we had in hip hop that you had from that 80s era is a lot of people were kind of educated politically to a certain degree, like socially and politically, so they knew what to talk about. Like, I was learning about things from Chuck D and from KRS-One and Rakim. I learned things from them, but they had something to say. They knew what was going on. And I don't know if it was age or whatever the case, but they knew. And I think even in this crucial era, I think the music can be more powerful, or the art will be more powerful if the people are passionate about it and they really do care.
There's one more, I think, on this side.
Is the mic on? Okay, here we go. Last question for you. As a creator, I'm sure a lot of people, pitch to you a lot of different projects and ideas, but how do you decide on which projects you take on or roles you take on versus the one that you're like, I'll pass on that one?
I really try to choose things that, like, when I'm reading it, I'm like, I want to keep reading it. I'm like, this is dope. Like, anything that, when I read something, I want it to be like, damn, I wish I could write this, or I wish I would have wrote this, or this is a great character for me to play, and this story is dope, and it feels fresh, and I can do something with it as an actor, like take it somewhere. Those are the things that I really look at, and it starts honestly with a title. To me, I like titles. Like, when I go to a bookstore, I look at the titles, and that can interest me in a book. So when I start reading the first page of a script, I could tell if the writer is really like a really
Oh, freedom, freedom call. Oh, no, won't be long.
Come on.
Freedom, freedom call. Oh, no, won't be long.
The caged bird sings for freedom to ring. Black bodies being lost in the American dream. Blood of black being, a pastoral scene. Slavery still alive. Check Amendment 13.